How's everybody doing today? Happy Sunday. Happy holidays. Glad you could make it. Um, whew, I guess I'm struggling a little bit today. What's up, Helmet? Glad you could make it. Of course, you know how I roll. If you got any security questions, drop them in the box. Of course, we'll pivot and come back. Any security questions, drop them in the box. Obviously, my sound is working, which is a positive. Got my stream health up, so let's get going. I like to start by going over the videos I did for this week. Let them everybody follow in. Hope everybody's having a great holiday. What's up, JM? Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. What's up, Israel? Jerry, blind guy, his wife in their life. So I can hear you talk about. That's cool. What was the question? I think I remember, but Jerry just dropped a question there. The load balancing was kicking my ass today. Facts. Talking about the load balancing, obviously in AWS. Here, I've been actually studying. I'm gonna go. I'm following you, man. I'm trying to go hard too. Like I said, I haven't taken a certification class in 10 years, so I've been actually studying for the practitioner just to kind of get me warmed up before I start doing something a little bigger. So this is one of the things I thought was interesting in there. Um, Everybody remember this old movie Greed is Good with Gordon Gekko? I love that movie. So Russian hackers were stealing SEC earning reports. So if you're investing in a company and you know the earnings before it actually hits public, right? If you got that information, you can front trade, right? You know it's going to be good news. You can buy a positive stock, and even the other way, if you know it's bad news, you can short it, right? So Russian hackers were doing that. They were making millions of dollars by stealing those earning reports, right? So a lot of people don't think about hacking in that level and how that was go, right? So greed is good. So Gordon Gekko. So if you can front run or do stocks, and I think a lot of Russian states and mobsters in foreign countries they want to get those earning reports, right? So you can kind of get on the good side or the professional side of that, right? You're not doing ransomware. You're just kind of front running. Wall Street, classic movie. I enjoyed actually both of those. So yeah, so that's what specifically Russian hackers were trying to do. And I guess we actually extradited one of the attackers to the United States. So I guess Russia's trying to make nice with us. So after my security plus, I want to end up being a pen tester, but I want to have a few years of security analyst first. Do you think along with some labs I should get? Yeah, I think the CYSA is powerful, man. That's an unknown cert, Jerry. I actually do uh, assurance and auditing from a security perspective, so I always think that's powerful. So yeah, the CYSA ain't no joke though, but yeah, I think that would be a good duo. Security plus with the CYSA, because one of them's really technical and CYS is more management. You talking about policies and procedures, incident response. So CYSA is more policy management side. The security plus Jerry is technical. So I do love those two together. Check out the DevNet start now. Cool. I want it to be like Gecko and make up some facts in Malibu. That's classic, man. You gotta have the hot babe with you too, Israel. Just use try hack me. Oh yeah, shout out for try hack me. That of course everybody's doing that now. I've seen a lot. Most of the pen testers and the red team guys are doing the try hack me for the 30 days of try hack me. And I'll be like to wake up and Johnny's time to make some facts. How much offensive knowledge do I need to be a security analyst? I'm a security analyst and I have minimal offensive knowledge. Um, to be honest, I do very little because and if you go out and look at my compliance playlist, I believe if you do the STIGs, NIST, right, that's blue team. They tell you how to lock stuff up. Then I do bring in offensive guys to test my setup. The cool thing, Jerry, is I'm actually set up AWS set up for for federal level security. And I was, well, I'm not joking. I challenged Gabe A, Alpha Cyber, and Kenny Conjo. All those guys are red team. So, and hopefully I can get the logs to show up big on the screen. So as they're attacking my setup, Jerry, we can actually follow them in the logs, right? Okay, this is the user he's using to check my load balancer, right? This is the user he's trying to get to the back end of my database that I forgot to put on a private network, and maybe it's open up to the internet, right? So we're actually gonna do a red team, blue team test. Hopefully end of January. I told those guys I was gonna set it up. So Alpha Cyber said he's looking up his AWS attack vectors. So hopefully we're gonna get that done, and like I said, be able to follow through the logs. And that's what we're gonna talk today is talk about the logs in AWS, how you store them, CloudTrail, cloud work, for alarming and sending notifications and CloudTrail, right? We're gonna save those logs so we can run through them and hopefully figure out the attack vector the red team is actually trying. And one of my users asked me to what to go through and talk about the different messengers apps. So I did Facebook Messenger. Once again, the government's blocking security. The government actually asked Facebook to leave a backdoor open so they can actually track people. Facebook said no. Their security pretty tight. I just don't trust Facebook for a company. So I always said Facebook is not secure. Technically, I believe their security is top notch. It's one of the best. Just as a company, I just don't trust Mark Zuckerberg and his team, right, to do the right thing. So there's another one I did is let's see, I did a course in ethical hacking from Cyber Mentor. Pretty sweet. No, those are cool. My thing too is with red team and pen testing. Those are usually outside sources. You usually don't have pen testers and red team unless you're a huge company. I work for government agencies and we just always outsource that. So every 3 years we got to do a full red team test. We don't keep those guys on staff. Only companies I know that keep those guys on staff are super big. So when we need them, we just outsource them for the companies. The cool thing with that is the pen testing red team. You can always do bug bounties to get your experience. A lot of companies open up bug bounties, and you can actually do that to get to your resume. So and add to that from experience testing from a red team, blue team. Is it a good practice to block all incoming connections? Oh, most definitely, JM. It should be deny all and access only when they're asking you, right? And to us, when we do that, we actually have a database that says this is the user requesting incoming that's coming to our backend, right? So source destination. So whatever you want in our backend and destination, you got to have a business requirement and rewrite that up, right, James? Because we want to track all of that. Two is we know what should be opening up to the public, right? Now, granted, somebody could click something and get behind our firewall, but anything open up to the public, we want to have that documented, right? You can actually, if you're a small company, I tell my small clients put that actually in a spreadsheet. This is the source, the destination is what they get to us. The reason why they have it, port protocol to what company what application they're using to hit our backend, right? Because we might open up that port and protocol and we might whitelist that program, right, to make sure it's that program's coming in even. So Jerry, we definitely, I'm sorry, JM, so we definitely need that. Yeah, definitely in your Soho. Denial open up only by like you said, it has to be warranted by business reason. So all our firewalls, like we send stuff to the bank. This is the bank. This is how we get paid. We doing this because we're expecting some data from. This is the client, and this is the ports and protocol wise open. Definitely going to watch the stream. Appreciate it. What extra technical skills would I need to learn that I definitely won't get from certs? I'm referring to being security analyst. Even that, are you like I'm blue team and I do security compliance and assurance. Are you just doing security analyst? Were you reviewing software? Are you doing like I do compliance and assurance? We got a compliance director. All of that's under security analyst. I'm trying to think. So do you know kind of what kind of part of this security analyst? If you're just talking about generic, I will look up blue team. There's a blue team cert. I would look up compliance, and then I would specialize in that. Like I'm purple team. I started off as a programmer, Jerry. So I'm more worried about how you get into the app, how's the app communicating with the database, because that's where a lot of cyber attacks happen. They're trying to go through your web app. So either I'll do the programming route or I'll do the networking route. Because on your network, generic SOC, I would do, if you're not a programmer, I would do Network Plus because all your security starts with your network. C- Controlling your traffic, where your traffic goes, who has access to your traffic, three-tier networking traffic, right? So you need to kind of understand the basis of networking if you're going to do a generic SOC analyst. I would do the programming or networking is quite common. Once again, it's payment scam, which the reason the police involves a lot of times is when you call your bank to get in, they want you to have a police report. So a lot of police report, even though they're stealing your Cash App or PayPal, right? It starts with your networking. So so that's what I would probably start off with. Jerry, is go with that Network Plus to kind of get you rolling to make sure you understand the underlying part of that. Then once you understand the underlying part about that, and I'm gonna do more videos is software requests. How do you view software coming into your organization, right? GRC, governance, risk, compliance, right? Which a lot of that is mundane. What are our assets? What are our PCs? VPN? Or do people got static IP address coming from VPN, right? To get you available for that. I don't trust Facebook based on your videos. Now, Facebook just seems a lot of shady, especially if you looked at 60 Minutes, the whistleblower, how they moving. Now, from a technology company, I think they're great. From the ethical part of technology, I always Facebook always makes me a little nervous. So they about the money, they about the bag at all costs. Helmet, does the government prefer a specific messenger? I know some years ago, folks were still using BlackBerry. I still love BlackBerry. We don't use any messengers at. Once again, I'm at the federal level. Usually, you're gonna do that inside Teams or WebEx. I would use Teams, then probably WebEx. Zoom's got a federal part of Zoom where you can upgrade. I would use that. But you got to remember, I work for federal people, so I move a little different. I move a little different, Emily. So now we don't use Messenger. We don't use Dropbox. So usually we use Teams. If you ever look at Teams and you Google FedRAMP and NIST, they have all the government certifications needed to do government work in Teams. Of course, Microsoft's trying to get that big bag from Azure. WebEx I thought was excellent from communication. So those are the two we recommend using. So Net Plus, CYSA. Yep, yep. I like that. Yeah, Net Plus to Security Customer CYA to let's say Blue Team One in between getting my program notes. Perfect. That's the blueprint. That's approved, JM. Network Plus is difficult. Damn, my passing. Now, facts, JM. That netting, man, getting those subnet rights, man. I still struggle with that with my age. Yeah, but you'll be fine, Jerry. And two is you getting the knowledge. Even if you don't pass, which I'm sure you would, just getting that base knowledge. Like I don't do netting, but when I talk about reviewing software and I talk to vendors, are you using a three-tier network? Or are you using MFA? Right. So are you controlling your network between the app tier, application tier, and database tier? Right. So you need to understand that at a high level to talk about security, especially from a security analyst point. Apple had a bug from Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper is what they use when you download applications from their app store. They showed a vulnerability where if you just do a bang, I'm sorry, yeah, hashtag bang, you can actually bypass that gatekeeper, which means you got in their app store, you signed it, Microsoft's okayed it. It showed you how to actually get around that and be able to get malware and stuff on people's machine, even on Apple. Right? Apple, I think, has some of the best security on the planet, but even they can make mistakes. That's why you have people testing them, and when they find them right, you want to go ahead and fix them. So, shout out to Apple. Like I said, they had their gatekeeper program. Let's see. Government usually mostly Outlook, right? Yeah, Outlook along with Teams. That whole Outlook part. Yeah. Well, most people go on to Office 365 in the cloud. Right. And they got all the security stuff in the cloud. You can do conditional access. You can look at people's IP address. I mean, there's so many more secure stuff. I wouldn't say straight out, look, everybody's using Office 365 in the cloud, and Microsoft did an excellent job because they're trying to get some of that Jedi $10 billion money. So they're using that, once again, that Office 365 in the cloud. Jerry, too, is I'm actually going to probably do classes, hopefully. One of the other, not classes, but similar to this. If you are a security analyst, what do you need to do in the cloud, right? From a security analyst, how do you review software? How do you review databases? How do you review AC coming into the flat part of your network? How do you do three-tier protected part of your network from insurance? So I'll probably start doing that in February, Jerry, for security analysts and people who want to get into that level of I guess I wouldn't call it training, but just kind of going over it at a high look at just to see how that rolls. And once again, I'm a compliance guy, so I'm actually supposed to do this for the Information Security, I think Society or ISSA. They actually asked me to do a presentation over Zoom for the local group in Indiana, and I might do this presentation for the local group in Chicago. So I just submitted it. So of course, always test it on YouTube and getting feedback. It's a little long, so I sent it to the head guy for the ISSA in Indiana and the ISSA in Chicago. So I think they're going to let me do a security talk for their organization. So just trying to get myself out there and doing that a little more. And Patreon's calling me back. All good. Yeah, when you speak that language, is open up all sorts of doors. Oh, facts. Yep, yep. All right. All good. So, this one I did is shout out to Engineering Cannabis. I did a video on artificial intelligence, machine learning. AWS has a ton of services for that. I was surprised. So if you're trying to get up your artificial intelligence and machine learning, and the other part be interesting. The last third of that, AWS has machine learning for security. Like they have services inspector that'll go through your logs and use machine learning to figure out if somebody's trying to hack you. Right? They had inspector. They had Macy that says, okay, you're doing federal compliance. Macy will go through all your S3 logs to figure out if you're trying to send out SSNs or credit card numbers using machine learning from security. So they had like 3 or 4 machine learning products that actually went for a security backend. Once again, I thought those were interesting, and I'm taking a practitioner test, so I was studying for. So once again, I had like 4 or 5 of those machine learning projects and artificial intelligence that was actually created. I'm calling it a baby sock. So if you came for a sock, they had 3 or 4 of these things that was like a sock would do. It's threat hunting through your logs. It's threat hunting for users doing certain things. So they help you do your sock inside AWS without actually hiring a sock. Right. So I thought that was cool. Those robots look like ones. But facts. I'm watching The Matrix this afternoon. I got my HBO Max, so I'm gonna look at it. So yeah, that's my artificial intelligence bot. So and also I did something similar to that for the metaverse. So but yeah, so and we'll get more into that because we're gonna start talking about the architecture of AWS and going through it from a security analyst standpoint, right? Even though it's an AWS, right? It's AWS secures of the cloud, routers, instances, load balancers. You as what's in the cloud. Are you doing platform as a service? Are you doing infrastructure as a service? Are you spinning up your own database? Are you spinning up your own software, right? So you got to make sure all that meets those fundamental standards of that in the cloud. So we're going to start talking about that actually from a security analyst standpoint and what does that look like in real life? Like I said, from a security analyst standpoint. Since I do that for a living, what does that actually look like? The day in the life of a security analyst, right? So what would that look like? You know, because I know a lot of people trying to get in the game, so I need to start showing you what it looks like in real life and how to do security review on software, open source and stuff you paid for. What does that look like? So we're talking about monitoring analytics, which is basically logs, SIM, and a few other things, right? So Amazon gives you a ton of tools and a ton of services to do that. What do you think? Who will you? Who do you think will be? Imagine AWS in years. Who do you think will be the dominant players in the cloud in 5 years? AWS, because they still running away. Right behind them is going to be Azure, because if you are a Windows shop, it's easier to shift and lift in Azure. I think Google's going to be a player with the young Silicon Valley stuff. They struggle with the federal compliance stuff. They're too cool to do straight Fed work. It's too boring. I'm always arguing with guys at Google. They want to create their own encryption. I'm like, dude, the government says you got to use this type of encryption. You can't create your own, but those guys are super smart. So I think some of the stuff they do is cutting edge, but as federal compliance, you got to be able to check the compliance box. So they struggle with that. I think there's a lot of startups in there too, but I think the player Oracle's gonna be in there. Um, they just buy so many companies and they got a lot of money. Um, I think Apple's kind of do their own cloud in the background, so you'll be able to get a job. I just don't think you'll be able to use it from like a federal compliance. I think VMware and Cisco's got their own proprietary clouds for certain things, but I think it's going to be the dominant big three. I'm sure somebody sneak up, but AWS, Azure, um, Google, Amazon. I think Rackspace is pretty good if you want to go to that bare metal. So I think those would be the big people. So when you talk about monitoring and doing analytics, the ideas of observing systems, collecting metrics, evaluating those metrics over time, and using them to make decisions or take action is what is called monitoring. It's important to set up monitoring in the cloud with the elastic nature of AWS services that dynamically scale up and down. You want to keep a close pulse on your AWS resources to ensure that your systems are up and running. For example, if an EC2 instance is being overutilized, you could trigger a scaling event that automatically will launch another EC2. Or if an application starts sending error responses to an unusual high rate, you need to get an alert to an employee to go look at what's going on. What's up, Wally? I appreciate you, Gail. Thanks for joining us. Everybody go subscribe to Gail at night. She's the best monitor on the planet. I might have to find a little money for her. Professor Black Ops has been broke in 2021. So everybody shout out to Gail. Everybody go subscribe to her. but so yeah, but so when you're at night, if somebody's doing a denial of service attack, right, you want to know about it, right? Because you could get a big bill. Shout out to my man. I can't even think of his name. Oh my God, I'm blacking out. Let me find it. But he had a AWS account. He went to sleep. What's up before the billions? He woke up. He had a $40,000 AWS bill because he had a denial of service attack, and the Amazon was billing him for that, and he didn't have the proper thing set up in the background to actually warn him about the denial of service attack. So he woke up. So he disputed the bill, but they were going round and round. So when you get attacked, you got that automatic scaling, but you got to keep an eye on it because you can scale yourself up to a $40,000 bill. Oh, shout out to Citizen Lou. He had a $40,000 Amazon bill because his infrastructure just started charging him. I think he said he got a DDoS attack, but he had to call Amazon. He said Amazon ain't paying his bill, right? But you got to be careful. So I'm setting up the first thing in my thing is to set up the monitoring alert. Then also, if you get up to like $200 or $300, it's just going to shut down my whole infrastructure and not let you do anything else. Right. So that's what you got to be careful of. It's cool when you can scale up and down. And two is part of my stuff. Since I'm testing, I'm not going to scale up more than two servers, right? I'm not scaling up more than two EC2 instance. If I get more than that, they just gonna have to wait. All that happened to one of your co-workers too before the billions. Everybody go subscribe to before the billions. He's out there. Helmet JM subscribe to them. So I always subscribe to Blind Guy, his wife, and their life, right? So go check them out. Oh yeah. So you got to be careful. So I'm setting up. The first thing we're gonna set up in January is when your bill goes over a certain dollar amount, it's going to actually take all our infrastructure and put it in a part of the network where you can't get to and you can't get billed anymore. It's going to actually shut down your outside stuff to the internet. Because I'm not trying to wake up to no $40,000 bill for Amazon, right? So I'm gonna work on setting that up. So if anything that happens to us, it's going to shut up. You welcome. Shout out to Blind Guy, his wife. They got me eating more salads, man. I'm trying to get in shape in 2022. Professor Black Ops making a comeback. Me and LL for y'all people don't know. LL made a comeback. That's a lot of y'all don't know what that is, but I'm trying to get in shape. But once again, we try to observe our system. We try not to get shot with a big bill that catches up with. I think one young guy deleted himself, man. He was so frustrated about that. The guy I caught off guard. I myself think Amazon should do that because they actually got a budget service. But even in your budget, it'll send you email alerts. I'm like, dude, what if I'm sleeping? I could get 10 billion hits while I'm sleeping, and then I come up with a big bill. So, like I said, I found some scripts that says, okay, once you get to this certain part of your budget, just go ahead and take it offline, and so you don't get those extra bills. So when we start doing that, because we're gonna start labbing every day in 2022, so we make sure we have that set up in our lab so we don't get surprises. Because Professor Black Ops don't like surprises with his money like that. So if he had to pay a few thousand because he left it up and forgot about it. Yeah, AWS is pretty good about it, but still though, man, I gotta reach out to my man that I don't know if he paid anything, but yeah, like you said, so we're gonna set that up so we don't want to get a surprise bill. So let's talk about Amazon CloudWatch is a web service that enables you to monitor and manage various metrics and configure alarm actions based on the data from those metrics. CloudWatch uses metrics to represent the data points for your resources. AWS services send metrics to CloudWatch. CloudWatch then uses those metrics to create graphs, automatically show how your performance has changed over time. Right, so that's it. And two is, and we'll talk about this from a federal level, you got to keep track of your logs because if you ever get hacked, we're going to talk about cloud forensics and how do we retrieve those logs to figure out how we got hacked, right? I actually teach a forensic class, so I might actually bring that to YouTube and talk about forensics, looking at logs, looking at people trying to steal data in pictures, right? Putting 4,000 SSNs in a GIF and see if you can find it in the Slack space. So I'm thinking about bringing forensics to my channel too as another class. So. With CloudWatch, you can create alarms that automatically performs actions if the value of your metrics has gone above or below a predefined threshold. In this scenario, you could create a CloudWatch alarm that automatically stops in the Amazon EC2 instance when the CPU utilization percentage remains below a certain threshold for a specified period. When configuring the alarm, you can specify and receive notification when that alarm is triggered. Once again, you still want to have these checking your application, checking your database. That's part of DevOps too. When you put something in production, right? You want to have different alarms to check certain things, right? To be aware of what's happening, right? It could be your database table filled up. Could be alarm. I'm just trying to think of if you get somebody's changing 100 passwords within 2 minutes, right? That's an automated attack, right? So if you see something like that, you can have once again your Amazon CloudWatch just shuts down your EC2 because it looks funny, right? Until you figure out what's going on, right? So you want to be proactive when people are attacking you, right? Let's see. Almost reminds me what happened to that kid approved option trading deleted. All facts, man. You could, yeah. I don't. That's why I've actually had a couple. I've had a couple option calls from a smaller amount, but yeah, but people go naked options from trading. I've got a couple of those calls in email that I need to put some more money in their helmets. So those aren't pretty. So I've been there. So yeah, it's I think that's worse because obviously you lose the money. This, a lot of times you can dispute it. So you have to be careful. Yeah, you got yeah, Robinhood. What kind of OS would you do your labs on? 22 can I download a VirtualBox, Linux box, and Windows? We're gonna do. Um, Let me think about that, Jam, because we can actually do them on prem. I'm actually want to do everything at Amazon. They got a free tier, so I'm a Linux guy. So we're gonna spin up Amazon 2 Linux in the cloud. I think you get a year free spinning up those boxes, Jam. So you don't actually have to set up a virtual box, a Windows box. We're gonna all do it in AWS. There's a free tier out there. So if you go AWS free tier, we get a free Amazon tier. We get a free VPS. So I think Israel, we're going to give him his networking class. We're going to set up a 3-tier networking subnet. We're going to make sure the web tier can't talk to the database. We're going to control our traffic. And I think we can do all of that free in AWS for a year using the free tier. That's my goal. I got to do a little more research. Don't hold me to that. Don't hold me to that, Jam. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm not a Windows guy, but I know Windows in reality. So we probably actually go ahead and set up a couple windows because I'm gonna actually set up Active Directory because everybody usually sync up their Active Directory in AWS to their Active Directory on-prem, and Active Directory is super hard to lock down. So I think that'll be a good lesson for us to figure out how to lock that down from a cyber attack. And once again, I'm gonna have my men come and check me out. Kenny Conjo, Alpha Cyber, and Gabe A gonna test my Active Directory scale. JM, that's gonna be my goal. Set up a 3-tier architecture using all the AWS resources. Using AWS load balancer, 3-tier coming in from the internet. I think I'm gonna have the sysadmins. We're gonna actually set them up. VPN coming in the back. Hopefully, we're gonna set them up with a 2-factor for DevOps, and I'm gonna try to set up 3 factors for the SAs and the DBAs on the back end. So we're gonna use username, password, phone, and I might use a USB drive, but I think that might cost. So let me think about the US. So we probably use 2-factor. I'm not trying to get anybody spend any money. So that's what we're helping to set up in all in AWS for free, JM. That's the goal. 3-tier database, web tier. From the programming standpoint, shout out to Before the Billions and my man. I'm gonna use Elastic Beanstalk. It's a web server, so you can actually deploy Java up there. I know a lot of people are not programmers, so I give you the Java to upload into the web tier while we're testing it. Then we can have automated tests, and we're also going to do a little security analyst, a little red team, because we got to test our infrastructure. How will we attack our own web tier and what that looks like? All right, they got this thing called Chaos Monkey, with a automatically goes out and once again use machine learning to try to attack our different levels, our web tier and our app tier in our database. So we use Chaos Monkey. I think we got to get permission from AWS, but I don't think it'll be a big deal. So that's kind of what I'm shooting for in 2022, JM. Don't hold me that though. That's what I'm thinking of. And 2 is I want to use CloudFormation. So if you struggle, I can send you out the CloudFormation scripts. You can hit a button and it'll build you that whole infrastructure inside of your VPC that you're gonna have under your root account, right? So if somebody's struggling, I'll have automated scripts to help you build that stuff with AWS CloudFormation. So you can create metric alarms, composite alarms in CloudWatch. A metric alarm watches a single CloudWatch metric or the results of math expression based on your CloudWatch metric. The alarm performs one or more actions based on the value of the metric expressions relative to a threshold of a number of periods. That action can be sent out an SMS notification, which basically is an email, Amazon EC2 action or EC2 auto scaling action, create an upstream or incident in the system manager. So if something looks funny and you think you're hacked, you can actually send yourself email incident, or if you're using Jira, one of those, you can actually send that incident straight from AWS to your Jira, whatever you're using to keep track of your incident. Then that'll tell your cybersecurity team, right, to take a look at that ASAP. Something's looking funny. So what is a composite alarm? A composite alarm includes a rule expression that takes into account the alarm states of other rules that you have created. The composite goes into alarm state only if all conditions or rules are met. The alarm specifies in composite alarm rules expression can include metric alarms and other composite alarms. Using composite alarms can reduce alarm noise. You could create multiple metric alarms, so also create a composite alarms and set up alerts only for composite alarms. For example, composite might be going to alarm state only when all the underlying metrics are in alarm state. Right. So once again, if my database is getting a lot of hits and my web server's not getting any hits, right? That alarm would be nobody's coming through my website, but I got a lot of activity on my database, right? So if you put those together, that could state somebody's on the back end doing something they're not supposed to do, right? So that's why you start using composite alarms, right? Somebody VPN in, right? But they're not doing any VPN work in the subnet they're supposed to be in. They're trying to go to a different subnet, right? So that's how you put two alarms together and say, oh, I need these two or three things to happen before I send out a real alarm, right? So that's the composite alarms, making those reach together. And we track that. What's up, Erica? Hi, fam. Happy Christmas. And when I mention a certificate, I'm probably mad person. Shout out to Erica. I got to get on my certificate games. Think of me out with Pierce. Shout out to Erica. Glad you can make it. Oh yeah, shout out Cisco was one of the highest search out there. And two is I'm looking. You can actually do the Cisco subnets inside AWS. You can actually use their Cisco products on top of their VPC, right? So there's a lot of things that Cisco's bring to the table that AWS is that they don't want to do, right? And two is Cisco cool because most major companies use Cisco, right? And if you go look at my Stig or Blue Team, I got a video on how to harden Cisco and what they're looking for to run in a Cisco infrastructure, right? I'm still working my AWS Security and CISA. Shout out to the CISA, one of my favorite organizations. So how would you lock down your AWS CloudWatch from a security perspective? Right. So like we talked about, we're gonna have multi-factor authentication in each of our accounts. They already do this for you. SSL and TLS, we want it to be 1.2 or higher. Setting up API using activity logs with AWS CloudTrail. We about to talk about that next. What's the difference between CloudWatch and CloudTrail? AWS uses encryption solution along with all default securities within AWS. Use advanced management security such as Amazon Macy's, which is assisted discovering and securing personal data in your store, Amazon S3, right? So those are the things that you want to make sure your AWS is doing. Two is, once again, I do cloud work, so we want to make sure it's locked down so we don't have any hackers getting us on the back end, right? Once again, CloudWatch encryption in transit. It uses end-to-end encryption, and if you want, depending on which endpoints, that can be FIPS 140-2 validated. Long story short, that means Amazon sends their encryption to the government to make sure they sign off and they're approved by the government and will work in there. So let's see. The IAM Users Identity within AWS account, for example, gives you permission to view metrics in the CloudWatch. So who are you letting look at your CloudWatch metrics? Who are you letting work on the CloudWatch agents? And we'll talk about those a little deeper coming up. You can use username and password to secure your AWS management console and AWS Sports Center discussion. In addition to username and password, you can also generate access keys for each user. So when you log in, that's a second form. You actually have to send your encrypted keys, your public key to actually log into AWS, right? That's when we talk about really locking it down. And you use those if you're using the SDK kit to program, or once again, we're going to do a lot of command line, right? Because you want to master the command line because you want to script this for 200 VMs, 50 VMs. You don't want to go to the console and click each one. So we got to make sure we got our scripting skills down so we can master that, right? So let's see, personal, peer, helmet with the Cisco, cool. Helmet talking to Jim, trying to knock out something before the year. Took an hour from this web development. Got to get it run with the class professor back at facts. Same here. A lot can be done. It's true. A lot can be done in 5 days. I'm trying to get on my practitioner, man. I ain't took a cert class probably in 10 years, so I'm trying to ease into that, man. So once again, in your AWS, you can get my IAM role and the identity you can create in your account that has specific permissions. It's similar to IAM user, but it's not associated with a specific person. The role enables you to obtain temporary access keys that can be used to AWS resources. Federated access user. Instead of creating a user, you can use a pre-existing AWS directory service. You're an enterprise user director, web identity provider. So the web identity providers, when we start programming stuff and syncing stuff up, these are known as federated users. AWS assigns a role to federated users when accessing requests through the IDP. So sometimes we got auditors in or people, we can just give them the AIM role to go to view our cloud right in our metrics, right? We don't want to create a different user for those persons. They're already in our system as a lesser role. We could give them rights to look at it all the time, but if they don't need them and they're just going to do a one-time audit every year, we want to give them the IM role. They do their job and we take it away. Why? Because if that auditors gets hacked, right, we don't want to have to give them the extra permissions, right, for that part of the AWS systems with our logs. So that's why you use an AM role to give people temporary access. And also part of the IAM role, cross accounts. You have IAM users with users account to grant other AWS account permissions. Uh, AWS Service Access, you can use an AM role in your account to grant a service permission needed to access your account resources. You can create a role that allows Amazon Redshift to access your Amazon S3 bucket on behalf and then load your data stores in the buckets into your Amazon Redshift. Right. So Amazon Redshift is a data warehouse. So if we need our data warehouse to get access to our logs to do some additional reporting, right, we'll give them that AM role, let that run. When they need to bring that data over, then we would take it away. Professor want to do a immersion AWS security study next few days, take exam. Oh no. Eric, I'm too old for that. I'm not trying to be immersed. I'm good. Thank you though. I gotta warm up. Thanks for the immersions, right? And once again, like we just talked about, applications running on EC2 for the monitoring. Instead of storing keys along with that, the EC2 instance can be used for application running. The API request, you can use an AIM role to manage the temporary credentials for those applications. To assign an AWS role to an EC2 instance to make it available to all of its applications. You can create an instance profile that is attached to the instance, and the instance profile contains the role enable the program running an EC2 instance, right? A lot of times we're going to have programs and jobs running batch, looking at stuff in our logs to do stuff. So that's why, since it's running as batch, that's why we would do the temporary role, and we would get our credentials from that temporary role and that temporary access, right? So that's on another level. And we'll talk about, like I said, I want to touch on, because when you start talking about security, right, that's the totality. You got jobs touching resources. What's the best way to secure those resources for touching your logs, right? Because your logs could have a lot of stuff about your company, right? A lot of art, which I hate, I see a lot of developers, they're writing SSNs in the logs, they're writing credit cards in the log. Well, from a debugging perspective, they want to see the whole transaction. From a security perspective, I cringe. I'm like, now we got PII and stuff we got to secure in our logs, and what does that look like? Right. So that's kind of why I wanted to touch on how do you have those jobs running and how do you lock down those jobs running. Shout out to Boyles for coming in and Parliament CPA. Oh yeah, that would require a lot of time to understand working in it. You got this now. A lot too old. Got to warm up. Stay young at heart. I'm pretty young at heart. I just try to be realistic. I just try to be realistic. Shout out to Before the Billions. I'm realistically never going to do a 24 or 30 hour live. Shout out to him. I try to be realistic in my old age. I want to do what I can do. I don't want to estimate. I told her Before the Billions, I might do a 5 hour live or 6. That'll be pushing. But he did a 30 hour. I'm never gonna do a 30 hour live though. Shout out to him. So as part of two is the CloudWatch. Once again, we do federal level, and certain federal compliance has requirements like SOC, PCI, FedRAMP, HIPAA, and others. They have that you got to have a SIEM or centralized logging, right? So security and compliance quick starter guys. It tells you how to architect the HIPAA security and compliance white paper. AWS shows you the resources. It shows you how to evaluate the rules, and also AWS Security Hubs provides a comprehensive view of the security state within your AWS that helps you check compliance with the security industry and standards and best practices. So when you do monitoring, we're about to get to CloudTrails, and at the end we're going to talk about centralized logging. You need to do that from a federal complexion or even compliance, because once again, if you get hacked, depending on what state it's in, they expect you to have that, right? So you need to have those logs somewhere where you can do forensics and figure out what actually happened to your organization, right? Let's see. Too old. How much exactly? For example, I'm trying to knock out part each month, be a CPA by May 22. Shout out to Erica. Good luck on that. There you go. Damn, a 24-hour live, man. Facts, man. That's for my man before the billions. He's supporting. Yeah, he did a 30-hour live, man. I was over there supporting for a little bit. If you go out there by 2 a.m., I'm dozing off. So I had to go to bed. So I was on it probably 6 hours with him. And two, actually, I usually let it run, click on it, and go to bed. But this is the CloudWatch dashboard. It's talking about the Amazon database. So it shows you the utilization, free storage, because if it gets down to a certain amount of percentage, you want to send yourself an email to give it storage. Right IHOPS is how quickly you write to the disk, right? So if that gets slow at a certain level, takes too long, you must send it. Read is the same way. Uh, Amazon EC2 metrics network, packets in, packets out, CPU utilization, right? Metric. So those are things. And two, remember, we can always put alarms on those if they get to a certain level. But this gives you an overall view of what happens in that cloud watching and how that's moving and how you want to move that in the future. So CloudTrail, right, records API calls for your account. The recorded information includes the identity of the API caller, the time of the API call, the source of the API caller, and more. You can think of a CloudTrail as a trail of breadcrumbs or log of actions that someone has left behind. Recall that you can use API calls to provision, manage, and configure AWS resources. With CloudTrails, you can view the complete history of a user's activities and API calls for your application and resources. Right? Remember, we're going to do cloud formations. We're going to start spinning stuff up. So we need a trace and tracking of each one of those cloud trails and those API calls, so we know what's happening in our infrastructure and what's going on with that. Right? CloudTrails, you can enable CloudTrails Insight. This is an optional feature inside CloudTrails to automatically detect unusual API activities in your AWS accounts. For example, CloudTrails Insight might detect that a higher number of Amazon EC2 Instance than users has recently been launched in your account. You can review the full events of the details to determine which actions you need to take next. Right. So once again, if you had a hacker or somebody insider took that over, right? What's up, Luscious? Glad you can join us. Um, into that account, right? That's gonna help us figure that out. Because these are the things we talked about where they're gonna help you build a SOC where you don't need people, right? Those things are gonna actually identify you or email you when something's happening, right? Let's dig a little more on that. AWS CloudTrails Insight helps AWS users identify and respond to unusual activities associated with API calls from continuously analyzing CloudTrail management events. Insight events are logged when CloudTrail detects unusual right management API activity in your account. If you have CloudTrails Insight enabled, a CloudTrail detects unusual activities. These events are delivered to a destination S3 buckets for your trail. You can also see the type of insights in the incident period when the view insights events in the cloud console. Unlike other types of events captured in the CloudTrail, insight events are logged only when CloudTrail detects changes in your account API that differ significantly from the account's typical use pattern. Right, so it's got a baseline behavior of your infrastructure. Right, over 2 or 3 months, it's going to say this is the activity of your API, so that way it can take the baseline and figure out what's going on that's different in your organization. Right, and I put it in red right there. The AWS CloudTrail Insight continuously monitors cloud right management event and uses mathematical models to determine the normal levels of API events and error rate activity for an account, right? So then once again, that's using machine learning at a certain level and it's moving at a certain level, right? CloudTrail Insight identifies behaviors that is outside a normal pattern, generates insight events, and deliver those events to a CloudTrail Insight folder, and choosing the destination S3 bucket for your trail. You can also access and view insights from the AWS Management Console for Trail. For more information, how to access and view events in the console or by using the AWS command line interface. All right, so once again, you're getting that machine learning, CloudTrail Insights, taking a base event. If it gets out the base event, right, it's going to email you, or I'll probably have it trigger and start shutting down stuff in my infrastructure, right? So that's some of the stuff in CloudTrail. So you see the baseline per calls for 5 minutes, the event source, the trigger for events, the timing of it, when it started, when it ended, and right there you see the peak, right? So that'd be the abnormal part that would get put in your CloudTrails Insight, which is in your S3 bucket. In your S3 bucket, you can read that CloudTrails and take some action, right? I can shut it down. I can make it read only. So what type of action do you want to take? Any memory, brute force memory with AWS CloudTrails. Facts. So yeah, so Erica put it in there. So actually, at the end of this, we talking about the Trust Advisor. So we're gonna talk about that, and most of my slides came from from that link. Um, so yeah, so that's the insight graph. Just give you a high level. And once again, too, hopefully in 2022, we start setting a lot of this stuff up, right, and talking about it. So once again, for Trail, we can do the MFA, we got the TLFs, we got the API. And once again, we can put Macy in the trails like we put out there and make it look for certain things. And if there's SSNs or something in that trail, right, it will send us email or something so we can make some kind of movement for it. Also, in CloudTrails, the event logs are encrypted using Amazon S3 server-side encryption key. You can also use encrypt your own logs with your AWS Key Management Service. You can store your log files in your bucket for as long as you want. You can also define an Amazon S3 lifecycle rule to archive or delete log files automatically. The following security best practices are also addressed, right? So depending on how you want to handle those S3 logs, from my perspective, I do a lot of IRS work and a lot of FISMA work and a lot of MARZ work. We got to keep logs for 10 years, right? So it can be expensive. So you need to look at who you report to and how you work. IRS is 7 years, and I think MARZ, which is the Social Security office, they want you to actually keep your logs for 10 years. Right. So CloudTrail is protected by the AWS Global Network, which we talked about. You got the TLS 1.2. Client Osmos support Cipher Suite for perfect for security and Diffie-Hellman. Additionally, you can request must be signed by using the access ID and a secret access key that's associated with your IAM principal. The AWS security token to generate a temporary security credential to sign requests. So we might get that level if some of our logs has information in it like SSNs or social security numbers. We probably assign it, then put it in our S3. Then when we get our S3, we have to pull out our credentials to unassign it so we can work on it, right? But that's extra security, and we're going to get that, start talking about that at different levels when we start live. It looks similar to intrusion detection. It is, JM. I think at a smaller level, it's got intrusion because you got to remember it's just for a certain part. It's for the API part and users. It's not for the whole part, but that's true, JM. For API users, it is an intrusion detection for that. But we got to remember it's just a small part of our whole infrastructure. Once again, we're on CloudTrails, security best practices. Consider Amazon's VPC endpoint for the S3 buckets. Identify and audit all Amazon S3 buckets that contain log trail files. Consider using tags to help identify both your log trails and the Amazon S3 bucket that contains cloud log files. You can then use resource groups for your CloudTrail resource. So inside of your infrastructure and VPC, you can start tagging different services at different levels that you actually want to look at together, right? So you do your CloudTrails, your CloudWatch. We'll have central logging. We will probably have all those tagged the same because all that's our logging and monitoring, right? So we want to keep an eye on that. And this was part of that Amazon S3 Glacier. Since we keeping 7 or 10 years, Amazon S3 Glacier. You can get your logs back in 6 hours or 12 hours. The 12-hour one, right? They charging you pennies for terabytes, right? So even though you keeping 10 years of data, it's probably going to be for a large company, it's going to be dirt cheap, right? Because they charging, I think it was 3 cents a tera. I mean, it was something ungodly. I need to pull those prices up. But part of that Glacier, they have a bot lock. So let's overview the bot lock. S3 Glacier bot lock allows you to easily deploy and enforce compliance controls for your individual S3 Glaciers. Bots with a bot lock policy, you can specify controls such that you're going to write it once and you never can change it, which with logs, you don't want everybody ever changing it, right? That's the source of truth. In the bot lock policy, the lock policy from future edits, once locked, the policy can no longer be changed. S3 Glacier enforces controls that sets the bot lock policy to help achieve your compliance objectives. Right. Once again, if you're reporting on the government, you can't change it. So, for example, you can do your data retention. You can deploy a variety of compliance controls and bot lock policies using AWS Identity and Management policy language. A bot lock policy is different than bot lock access policy. Both policies govern access control to your vault. However, bot lock policy can be locked to prevent future changes, providing strong enforcements for your compliance control. You can use the bot lock policy to deploy regulatory and compliance controls, which typically require tighter controls on your data access. In contrast, vault access policies to implement controls that are not compliance related, temporary and subject to frequent modifications. Bot lock and bot lock access policies can be used together. For example, you can implement a time-based data retention rules in your bot lock policy that denies delete and grant read access to designated third parties or business partners to allow reads. So once again, from a compliance perspective, when you lock down your vault, you're not letting anybody change it. You're not letting anybody mess with it, right? Because you report to a government policy. Make sure you thumbs up. I appreciate that blind guy his wife in their life. So let's keep going. We getting close to the end. Like Erica put in there, let's touch the Trusted Advisor. It's a web service that inspects your AWS environment and provides real-time recommendations according to AWS best practices. Trusted Advisor compares the finding and best practices in 5 categories: cost optimization, performance, security, fault tolerance, and service limits. For the checks in each category, Trusted Advisor lists recommendation, action, and additional resource to learn more about your AWS best practices, right? So when we look before in uh, AWS, it looked at the specific user to make sure it wasn't doing anything crazy. This is saying you set it up to be the appropriate way, best practices out the box, right? So that's the difference, right? So this is the best practices when we set it up, and hopefully we're going to use a little bit this in the lab. It was super cheap. I'll probably use it on mine, then I'll give you the cloud formation on it. I think if you was doing development, it was like $29 a month to make sure you're using best of breed. And we talked about using the AWS Cloud Formation. So once we set it up, we use this to make sure AWS approves of it. Trusted Advisor, while you're creating new workflows and developing new application, you could use it while you're making ongoing improvements to existing application and resources, right? We demon. True, true. I work on that. I work on that. Is a lot to memorize, so I'll definitely work on that, Erica. You are correct. Shout out to Snuggles peeking in. I'm one day when I go live, I'm gonna see if she gonna hit the link. No, that's my favorite nice troll on the internet. Shout out to Snuggles. AWS Trusted Advisor, cost optimization. We talked about running up AWS big bills on accident. So this will help you. Trusted Advisor can help you save money, such as recommending you to delete unused or idle resources, or use reserved capacity. Trusted Advisor can improve the performance of your services by ensuring you take advantage of provision throughput and monitoring for overutilization in Amazon EC2 Instance. From a security perspective, Trusted Advisor can improve the security of your application by recommending you enable AWS security features and review your process. Fault tolerance, Trusted Advisor can increase the availability of your AWS application by recommending you take advantage of auto-scaling health checks and multi-regions and even backups, right? So once again, AWS has a service for you for a slight fee to help you out, right? Hopefully, this is what we're talking about too. Is service quotas, also referred to as service limits, or the maximum numbers of service or resources operating that apply to a county region. Trusted Advisor can notify you if you use more than 80% of a service quota. You can then follow a recommendation to delete the resource, request a quota increase, or check the results are based on snapshots. So your current usage may vary. So once again, we're going to use that because we don't want to go over our quota, so we want to get some big bills. So there's a lot of services that actually check on your service quotas. So let's say it recommends to delete or request or increase. So hopefully when you hit 100%, it just shuts down your quota. So that would be my goal. So we won't have these unnecessary big bills. And this is just a chart of at what level and at what price do you get the AW Trusted Advisor and the best practices. Right? Snuggles, where are you? Snuggles important over here with the wrench. Snuggles home, where are you? Everybody sending out the shots of Snuggles. Is there any lag or a noticeable latency when you use AWS VM? I didn't see when I did it, JM, but of course I've never done a true performance test. I've worked with some big vendors for the client I work. They run billions of rows through it. So I would say no, but personally, like I said, I haven't done a performance test. But if you look, all the big vendors are in AWS, so I would doubt if there would be a lag. So that's it. If you use that, you get the developer recommends if you're doing that business minimum tier, enterprise, right? So if you do the developers, which I do, you get the basic security check, business, enterprise on wrap, and the other enterprise, right, gives you the full check. I think I put the prices in there coming up. I thought. So once again, you check cost optimization, performance, security, the service limits. These are all the resources that you could use with that service to see check on it for you, the advisor. So I mean, it's about 100 services you could use it on. Once again, set the limits on it, and also check your resources. I didn't. All the ones I was using, I actually seen that you could use that product on. So here's the support plan and the cost. Um, so it seemed reasonable. Personal, are you unsure if Superman hit the like button? I appreciate that. She stole my thunder. Shout out to She Stole My Thunder. She was walking in the snow in Canada. She was breathing hard. It was hurting my heart. I got to get my walk on, but it ain't snowing here. But shout out her for her. That snow in Canada wasn't playing this morning. I was supporting her on her live stream. I got to get my walk on, but it's pleasantly 40 in the Midwest today, so I'm not gonna be treasuring the snow. But shout out for She Stole My Thunder. She gonna be killing it this summer. She putting in work. I think you have to set up an agent to shut it down. Oh, I think yeah, you're 100%. And I'm going to talk about that, Erica, on the back end. We talk about centralized logging. And two is I get nervous with agents, and we get into it more because a big solar winds. If your agent's running as root or a high user, the Russians got into solar winds. So if you got root on that agent and it get hacked, it can do anything it want on those VMs. But we're gonna dig in that a little later. But shout out to Erica talking about the agents. That's super important. If you look, the developer charging for advisors, the greater of $29 or 3% of your monthly charges. Like I said, we're gonna make our stuff small, so it should be $29. Like I said, it'll be on mine, and I'll push it out to yours because I have the master AWS cloud formation. If I need to give you those scripts and help you build it out, business is greater of $100 or 10% of your AWS monthly charges for the first 0 to 10,000, 77% from 10,000 to 80K, 5% of 80K to 250, and 3% over 250,000 a month. I know some big clients that are actually spending like $200,000 a month on AWS resources. Right? Enterprise on ramp is greater than 5,000 or 10% of the charge. Once again, enterprise is kind of the same as the business. They actually got 3% over $1 million though. Whew. Right, so there's a few people paying $1 million for their AWS resource, but if you spending that right, you're making big money. So this just shows you how it looks. So your cost optimization, anything yellow means you could improve on. So got the link so people can come up and talk to you. I will snuggle. I'm still struggle streaming. That's my goal in 2022. I need to do StreamYard or something. So I'm gonna do that in 2022, especially when we start live and snuggles. I've been struggling in 2021. You're correct. I've been slacking on that particular part. So we're gonna get that right in 2022, snuggles. I was doing some stuff in Restream.io and they kind of changed it, and the way I was using it wasn't set up right. So I need to go ahead and get something set up in 2022. So you're 100% correct. So if you looked at these Trust Advisor dashboard, yellow means it's something you look at. If you look here, that person could save 7,500 a month potential savings if they did what was in the red. This one had performance has 10 checks. 3 of them were good, 7 was in the yellow. 11 means especially security. Those are things that you need to change quickly, and you could be opening yourself up to be hacked, right? When you see the stuff in red. So the advisor gives you stuff, then they give you specific things to change that will benefit you. So the guide is provided by AWS Trust. Advisor can benefit your company at all stages of development. You can use AWS Trusted Advisor to assist you while you're creating new workflows and developing new applications. You can also use it while you're making ongoing improvements to existing application resources. That's how I plan on using it. Now, while this is straight OBS, I was using Restream earlier. This is OPS, and I was linking Restream to OBS. So that's what I think I'm going to do in the future. I've been toying around with it. Originally, I had Restream underneath, and I was letting OBS just sits on top and just shows what Restream was doing. But I don't know, it's doing so much traffic, it wouldn't let me do that anymore, Wally. So I'm reworking my setup to figure out if I want to just do what everybody else doing, do something a little different. So I'm trying to figure that out, Wally. And here I was ready to click the link. You know you wasn't coming up in here to Snuggles. Snuggles, you know you wasn't coming up on here. Shout out to Snuggles. So let's talk about collecting, analyzing, and Amazon CloudWatch logs in a single dashboard. And that's what we're talking about, centralized logging. So like Erica said, when you talk about having different accounts, different organizations, a lot of people do different departments. You need all that in one centralized logging, right? So you can actually do the things like take the behavior of your network, monitor stuff, so you can see if hackers are trying to use different parts of your infrastructure to attack you, right? So you need all those logs in a simple location, right? So centralized logging solution collects, analyze, and display Amazon CloudWatch logs in a single dashboard. AWS service generates log data such as audit logs for access, configuration, changes, and billing events. In addition, AWS log data, web server, application, operating system all generates logs in various formats. Consolidating, managing, and analyze these logs, different log files, is challenging to customers, right? So if you familiar with Elastic Log Stack, Amazon created their own, right? So that's how you get all those logs because they all in different formats. So you need to get them in one format so you can do trends and analysis. Right? So the solution contains a suite of infrastructure. This is centralized logging. That deploys centralized logging solution. You can collect Amazon CloudWatch logs for multiple accounts and AWS regions. It uses Amazon open source service, a successor to Elasticsearch. Oh, excuse me. You integrate it with open search services, create a unified view of all logs in combination with other AWS services. This solution provides customers with a turnkey environment, beginning with logging and analyzing your AWS environment and application. So once again, you're going to get it in one spot so we can do it in. So this is a diagram of that solution. Let me see, check 1, 2. So that shows you, give me a second. So this is the central logging in one place. Once again, shows the Kibana, shows you your different regions at the bottom, flowing up to one diagram. It's got the AWS Elastic Compute and AWS Log. Because once again, you got different regions, different accounts, different services. You need to get those in one place so you can do a totality of what's happening. So if you're getting attacked by nation states, you can figure that out in one location. That's what it's about. This solution contains a suite of infrastructure service to deploy centralized logging, Amazon CloudWatch. We talked about AWS regions, multiple accounts, using Kibana as an analytics and visual platform integrated with Amazon open source service to create a unified view of all the log events. In combination with other AWS services, this solution provides a service, once again, with a turnkey environment, beginning logging and analyzing your total AWS environments and applications. So this is one region, right? When you look at it, it's coming up. Here I was ready to click on it. Is it true that you get $200 to use on services with free one over a year? If so, how did you spend the $200, and where did you recommend spending it? When I did it, I didn't need $200. I just used all the free services. It does say you get $200. I never used the extra $200, to be honest, Jam, because everything I actually ran a business on a free service for a year and a half. A friend of mine did compliance, so I wrote a small app to do compliance work in Java, and I just ran it on their free service for a year and a half, and they never charged me anything. And her contract wound down, so when I ran that small business on a free service, JM, I didn't need the $200. Everything was free for a year. So I guess you would never know because you weren't ready for the. That is true, Snuggles. I failed in that event. I wasn't ready for the opportunity, and I always tell timing plus opportunity equals, your chance in life. So you are correct. I need to knuckle down on that, Snuggles. You are correct. So then the most I like to choose GCP, and I have $300 to use for 3 months before billing. Billing is an automatic end of trial. Fact, yep, that's true. Your dreams online. So here it is, centralized logging. We're looking at the one of the regions at the top. Solution uses CloudWatch log destination capability for log streaming. The CloudWatch log destinations are created with required permission in each of the selected regions in your primary account. After the destination is created with the necessary permission, you can configure CloudWatch log subscription to figure for the log group to be streamed to the centralized logging account. All right, so this is going to go through what we were talking about. This is going to go through what we were looking for, each region and each one of your network segments. You're going to have elastic cloud compute. We're going to have load balancers. We're going to have web server and app server. So each one of those logs are going to get pushed up to the centralized logging, right? So we can do it all in one place. Centralized logging index component is a centralized Kinesis data stream provision to index your logs coming in. The CloudWatch log destination creates streams to log events. Once the log event streams to Kinesis, the service invokes AWS Lambda function to perform each log event to an open source service, which is in Then input in Kinesis data store. The data firehose index documents coming in open search services. The Kinesis data firehose log errors in the CloudWatch and deliver the records. Right. This is at the high level, and of course we're going to drill down deeper. But when all those logs are streaming, right, you got the Kinesis data stream. Lambda is the actual EKS that's going to spin up underneath. Then data hose is going to index all those events in Amazon search. And once again, we're going to save those in Amazon S3 simple storage, right? That's the high level, right? We're going to dig in that deeper in 2022 and see what that looks like in real life, right? So Kibana, a solution optimally launches from a Windows jump box server that can be used. Amazon Open Search Service Cluster and the Kibana dashboard. An administrator account is configured to provide permission to the dashboard, and the dashboard, of course, is what? Going to authenticate and tell you what you're using inside your infrastructure. And two, hopefully, not hopefully, is if it gets out of whack, we're going to send ourselves an email or make the dashboard come in red, meaning one of our EC2s are whack. We get too many hits on our database. Somebody locked our database up, right? So we get that information in Kibana. Amazon Cognito is basically how you authenticate in that region to get access to your dashboard, right? So that's what that's used for. Once again, we'll drill down that deeper in the future, right? This is just kind of high level for the practitioner exam. So the other part of that is when you're coming in from the internet, right? You go through an internet gateway. You got your Bastion security host, which basically means it's hard and it's only able to accept requests. You're going to use that to work on your infrastructure, right? You got jump server, jump box is a system or network used to access and manage devices in a separate security zone. A jump server is hardened and monitored device that spans two dissimilar security zones. Right, and we get more into security, right? So the internet is open, so it's public. The security groups where you work on your infrastructure is a private subnet, right? It's not open to the public. You know, your jump box, you can use keys to get to your jump box. You can use keys to get to your application. So once again, different ways to get to your servers in your backend for your centralized logging. What So this is the oh, let's talk about that at a high level. And Erica brought this up. So when you see your infrastructure, it's super complex. Each one of those boxes, most times, you have an agent on, right? So if your agents get hacked, your agent's going to have access to everything on your box. So that's why when you work on your agent, you got to make sure they're locked down, how you're going to update them, how you're going to get to them, right? So if you look back at the solar winds, the foreign adversary got access to the agents on the whole infrastructure. The SolarWind pushed that out to their customer, and that's why that foreign adversary took over all those clients and all those government agencies because agents are on every box. So agents, for me, is one of the top things from a security priority you got to deal with, right? Because if your agents get hacked, you're toast, right? Shout out to the DMZ. So yeah, so what she was talking about is when it was coming back the open part of the open the internet, then it was the private part that's known as the DMZ. So Erica's 100%. So when we talk about agents and any software that's on every box you have, if that person gets hacked, internet to protect. True. I called it open, but you're correct. Open to the internet, right? So I said, open is the internet. But no, you're right. Important data in a private group. Facts. You gotta have all my and that's what we're gonna start talking about from an infrastructure standpoint. And the next step we're gonna do in 22 is, like she said, is DMZ. Where you put in your database, that should be on a private subnet. Where you put on your application server, that should be a private subnet, right? Web servers open to the public subnet, right? But those other two layers should be on a private subnet with a private group locking those down, right? And that's what you talk about when you roll in, right? So and managing your infrastructure. And two is I think I probably start studying for the associate architect, and that's where she's talking about where we really dig into that, right? Like she talking about 80 is unsecure versus HTTP and HTTPS, which is secure, right? Then the TLS you want it to be 1.2 or higher, even in the 443, right, which is HTTPS protocol, right? So those are the stuff we're gonna dig into in the future. Those are some other stuff where we're gonna really get into those and really get down into the nitty gritty, right? This is the practitioner, right? So this is a little higher level. So what she's talking about, I think it's probably gonna be my next class where we start talking about how do you architect, how do you 80 versus 443 plus versus TLS 1, 2, and higher, right? All that goes together from a cipher protection from your 443, right? Um, that's all I got unless anybody had any questions. Like I said, I just kind of want to hit touch on logging because that's huge, right? And that's how people get hacked. And from a fines perspective, if you don't have logs from government entities, they could fine you, especially a HIP. I think it's $1,023 a record if you find negligence. So you definitely have to have your logging, your monitoring set up for. Like I said, I do a ton of DoD work, and you got to have a centralized logging thing when you're doing DoD. So that's it. So once again, let me know if you have any questions. I hope everybody's having a great holiday. Like I said, this is the higher level. Shout out to Erica. I think, well, I know in 2020 when we lab, we're going to start delving down deeper in these levels. DMZ, 3 tier, 4 tier, private subnet, public subnet, how that works down. How do you memorize all this? Israel, you got to think. I've been in the game 30 plus, and I'm still struggling memorizing some of this. So it just takes time, man. Just grind. Nothing's easy, man. Once you do it, like I said, and Erica and I, people take as you learn pieces, it starts stacking on top of it, right? I learned web server. I used to do programming, so as I learned that, when I went to infrastructure, right, it just kind of stacks on each other, right? Then when I was doing development, I started doing database development, right? So it starts stacking, Israel. I didn't get it overnight. I got 30 years ago, and I'm still learning, man. I'm trying to get this AWS architecture stuff down. Most of the stuff I did was on prem, so I'm trying to take my own prem knowledge and take it to a cloud. And some of it's a little different, but once again, it stacks on each other, man. So when you start getting your certs and getting more certs, and like I said, we start labbing, you'll memorize it, especially when you do it, right? Because I was a programmer for 15 years before I got into cybersecurity. I was a DBA for 5 years, right? I was a web server and application server admin for 3 years, right? And I've been doing security appliance for the last 12. So when you stack it out, Israel, I've been in the game a long time. It's not like I said, Eric is helping me because some of my cloud stuff I do it from a security analyst, but I'm not an architect in the cloud. So that's the next step I'm trying to get to, Israel, so I can get my skills up. So that's why I'm trying to take some of the AWS stuff to make sure I understand it in and out. Like I said, I'm better on prem because I did that for everything for 20 years. Like I said, DBA, web admin, application admin, uh, generation code, programmer. So, I'm trying to get to the cloud. That's the next big bag. But shout out to everybody. Everybody go check out Gail. Like I said, she's the check out Helmet. She's assisting me. I appreciate it. But that's all I got. Like I said, I'm a shout out to Snuggles. I'm gonna get my environment set up. So that's one thing I'm gonna do in 2020. Because if you go back, I did 15 one-on-one interviews in my if you look inside my back end on YouTube. So I was doing a lot of interviews, and I'm gonna get back to that. I got a couple CISOs coming in. I got a couple compliance people coming in. I got a guy that works at Google coming in. I got a couple AWS architects I used to work with at DoD coming in. So I'm hoping to set it up. Then two is once we get started on our lab, have those AWS engineer guys come in and just kind of review the work we're doing and give their, their vast knowledge on what we're setting up, and if they think it's proper to make sure we, doing the right thing. So I'm not leading you astray. So I call it my Rolodex because that's an old term. Like I said, I got two guys I used to work with at DoD. One guy I'm cool with at Google. One guy I'm cool with at Azure, because I think Azure, I might go work for Azure. I think they're gonna offer me a job. So we're gonna bring those guys in and get their professional opinion at the COVID pushed it ahead 10 years. All facts, especially 100%. When you work from home and the cloud is so much better, especially Office 365 and all the stuff they bring, especially from a security perspective. So, yeah, shout out to that. Do I need to know coding in cybersecurity? Not really, JM. I don't. I'm in cybersecurity. I don't code anymore. It helps me understand, but now you don't need coding. It just depends on what part of cybersecurity going to do. If you're going to become an architect, though, I think you need coding because when you do stuff like we were talking about one region and one EC2 instance, when you talk security, you got to put that on every instance. So a lot of times you got to code so you can, do automation, right? Too, this summer, JM, you can join. I'm gonna teach a Python class. I think I'm gonna do Python class, not in Sony, but I think I'm doing Python class for middle schoolers. So anybody can join, but middle school. So it's be so if you want to go from the ground up, so I think I'm gonna do Python for middle schoolers this summer. And in there we gonna touch on a little automation in there. But you don't need any interviews with yours truly. Oh yeah, Snug, I want to interview you, but maybe next time with preparation, miss opportunity. Straight. I tell people that you gotta have your preparation so when an opportunity comes, you can be right on it. Fact shows. Israel agrees with me, not really. Like I said, unless you do automation, and to be honest, I work with a guy that's killer automation, so he always wrote the automation scripts. Like I said, I do assurance, right? So I do more vendor certification and software certification and how they work. Facts. It is the matrix. The coding is to know Linux commands, I'm assuming. No, those are separate. You need plus learning Terraform. Yeah, instead of Terraform, first I'm learning Cloud Formation is actually the AWS specific thing for Terraform. Terraform you can run on anything, right? You can run it in AWS, you can run it in Azure, you can run it in GCP, because you can load Terraform up. I just wanted to kind of master everything in AWS before I start doing GCP. So I'm doing AWS Cloud Formation, which equals to Terraform. So get it straight out. Keep it techie. Is it good videos and coding Python, C++? Facts. Yep. So I'm hoping to do labs in Python. So I might reach out to Keep It Techie because I think he was talking Python. I don't know if he was actually doing labs in Python. So, but Keep It Techie is my guy, man. Keep It Techie actually brought me into YouTube and kind of showed me around. So I'll keep it tech. He's always my man. So like I said, he introduced me to the YouTube and to all the cool people. But yeah, check it out. I don't know if he, like I said, I think he talks about. I don't know if he does labs yet. I know he's doing a course though on Linux. I think he's going to do his own course on Linux because I'm going to start a learning management system on my channel. So where you can actually go and take the labs and take quizzes and take tests, right? I think I am, Erica. I'm thinking about that. You're correct. I think I am going to make those interactive. So you are correct, Erica. I'm leaning that way. Oh, those are great people, man. Keep it technical one for life. He definitely OG. Oh, facts. Yeah, when I actually do the class, I'm definitely gonna make it interactive. You got me. So yeah, I got to figure out if I'm gonna do a YouTube or I think I'm gonna do it on my learning management platform. So long as you're a subscriber, you'll get the password. And like I said, I think I'm gonna do introduction class on here. Then when we do the labs, I think I'm actually gonna go to a learning management platform. Like you said, it'll be interactive. Then we can go back and forth in the chat. You'll have test grades and maybe even a little homework assignment on there. I'm thinking about it, Eric. I'm trying to figure. I think you egged my question. You egged my question. Is egg mean I messed it up or what? So, um, so that's where I'm at. Once again, I'm gonna wish everybody. Oh no, you're right. You're right. I'm working on that. You're right. I need to do that. Ignore. I didn't ignore it. Ignore. I need to come up with them. I'm lazy. I didn't ignore it. I apologize. I didn't ignore it. Yes, I need to figure those out. I haven't figured those out yet. I'm hoping I can easily find them on the internet. Yeah, I need to work on those because they do make things easier to memorize. So I did not ignore you, Eric. And so no, you're correct. um, so no, but you're right. I got to figure those out. So I don't see that a lot in other spaces. Thank you. I appreciate it. Who invented Christmas? I ain't touching that one, Snuggles. I'm going to eat. I'm old. I'm about to go get me a little food. So once again, too, is I'm gonna reach out to you and ask everybody. I'm gonna do I need to be more like before the billions. I'm going to do a poll and let people respond to the poll about the learning management system, what people really want to do. Do they really want to do labs? I'm sure that yes. Do you really want to have homework? Do you really want me to put tests and quizzes, kind of like we do a section, but I don't have any tests or quizzes or any labs to go with these, right? So I think the next step is to actually put the labs with these and expand on them in the lab so you can actually practice what we're talking about. Okay, I appreciate that, Eric. Oh my God, there's like 200 services. I'm just doing the beginning AWS classes, just trying to memorize. And then the beginning class is only probably teaching like 20 services, and I think that's a lot. So, um, facts, peace to everyone. I check out facts. I know Roland, now you facts, got to get those services. Peace, I enjoyed. Yep, everybody enjoy the 22 lives will be helpful. I'll make that happen. Professor Black Ops wouldn't ignore you. He just saw some facts. Good looking out for me, Black guy. His way. I'm about to go eat. Shoot me an email, professorblackOps@gmail.com. Our word. I got to respond to somebody. I've been a little behind on my emails. The little Christmas thing. Hanging out with my son and a grandbaby, so it's all good. Do everything. Shout out. I feel you. I feel you. His wife, they're like, I'm out, everybody. Everybody have a great holiday. New Year's coming up. Hopefully 2022. I got to get up with Erica, start getting these certifications down. I'm being lazy. I can't keep complaining. I'm old. I got to put in some action in 2022. Once again, I'm trying to go live Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So be checking me out. Check out my channel. I put all my lives will show up like 4 or 5 days in advance when I'm gonna go live. Check this out. If anyone wants to touch a few helmet, the bag, facts, the line CIS checks. Yep, get the yeah. I love CIS. We're gonna do that in AWS Cloud. We're gonna do the Stigs though. I like the Stigs better from a cybersecurity perspective. Once again, I keep saying I'm out, but I'm out. I'm about to go get me a little lunch and relax. I'm gonna see y'all on these YouTube streets. Shout out to Eric. I'm trying to get the bag in 2022. I'm in the top 8% of dudes. KS says I'm trying to get to the top 4% of all dudes. That's my goal in 2022. So everybody have